Hello all, welcome back to Kuri K9 Massage's blog. Please welcome again Heather Lacey from Lazy Cat Oils, here to talk to us about something a little different. Usually you're here talking to us about Reiki, Heather, but please remind us of your credentials and about Lazy Cat Oils, particularly more so than a reminder, letting people know who haven't seen your other interviews.
Right.
Yeah.
So in addition to the Reiki, being a Reiki master, I also do aromatherapy and reflexology. I'm a holistic healthcare practitioner. Back in 2012, I was looking for a reflexology class because I wanted to learn out of interest. And I came across a website for Jan Benham and her school that she used to have out on the East End in Queen East. And by the time I went back to it to look at signing up for some of her classes, because she had all sorts of classes on all sorts of things and it sounded really interesting. She was in the process of moving to the Netherlands. But she was moving a lot of her stuff online, as well as coming back to Toronto for a month, approximately, initially about a month a year, to teach.
Right.
So over the course of the next few years, I did do my classes. It took me a few years before I did reflexology. I started off with a bunch of aromatherapy and essential oil courses first.
Right.
They caught my interest and they were more readily available. So I did those first and got my practitioner's license certificate in 2015 and started my company while I was doing my training. So.
Right. And that's Lazy Cat Oils?
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
So a little summary of Lazy Cat Oils, even though, you've already described yourself.
Yeah. In addition to the treatments, I also do body care products. That's what I started with as I was doing my training. That was kind of the first thing I trained in, and it took longer to actually do the aromatherapy and reflexology training. So I eventually incorporated those as I got my qualifications for those. I incorporated those into the business. So basically, aromatherapy is the art and science of using extracts from plants to help the body heal physically and mentally. Body, mind, and spirit, basically, kind of idea. Yeah. Essential oils, in the most simplest term, are the life force of the plant. So basically the equivalent of our blood. That's what circulates through the plants. It's the chemical composition of the plant, and it can be extracted in a number of ways. Everything is made up of chemicals. Let me just say that first, because there's a lot of people that are like, use essential oils, don't use chemicals. Well, it is still a chemical.
Yeah.
We're all made up of chemicals. Essential oils have terpenes and alcohols and ketones and phenols and aldehydes. I hate that word. Esters and oxides and acids and lactones. It's got all of them in there. And each essential oil is different depending on the levels of each of those different chemicals, the chemical composition that makes it up. And so they affect different things within our body based on their chemical composition, just like any other chemical does. They just happen to be natural chemicals or not man-made manufactured chemicals. That's the difference. So yes, so it's not that it's not a chemical. Mm-hmm. It still is. Yeah. Plants, depending on how you or where you're harvesting from a plant, plants can produce different essential oils. So the best example of that is the orange plant. You can get one essential oil from the orange that's extracted from the peel itself. Okay. And you can get another essential oil extracted from the leaves, and another essential oil extracted from the blossom. Neat. So you have different essential oils from the different parts of the plant, depending on what it is. So, and sometimes extraction is through what they called expressing, which is basically compression, which is what you do a lot with peels. And sometimes you do distillation. That's the most common, especially with blossoms and flowers, or stems and whatnot, you're distilling. So to get the essential oil and separating the oil from the water. They are oils. Essential oils are oil, just not in the context that most of us think of them as oils. Think of oil. Most of us think of oil like cooking oil, like something that's a little kind of heavier and more substance to it, or the carrier oils that we mix essential oils into. Essential oils tend to be more liquid, more almost watery sometimes, but they are an oil and they don't mix with water directly. So, which is why we're always using a carrier oil usually to mix them with, to something to disperse them in, or an alcohol. They'll mix with alcohol, and sometimes you mix them with an alcohol and then mix that with water if you want to create a spray, that kind of idea. So you're treating it like an oil. It just sometimes when people look at it, they're like, this isn't oil, but it is.
So then, how do essential oils work? How are they beneficial to the body? And I know we're speaking broadly about humans here, but we'll get into animals a little bit too, if that's okay. And like whether animals process essential oils similarly to us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely. As a general group, essential oils are what we call biotic, and that means they strengthen living tissue. The opposite of antibiotic, antibodies. It's biotic, so it's living. It works with living tissues. They can be absorbed into your body through the skin, so direct contact, through inhalation. You can also ingest essential oils. That is more common, or not common, but it is done in Europe. It is not done so much here, and it is not generally, it shouldn't be practiced by anyone here. I know there are some companies that will say, take this, take that, but officially there's no regulations around it here. So aromatherapists here generally do not give internal, and in Europe it's generally done through a doctor who has studied aromatherapy but also has a medical license. So it's not just something that's handed out for the heck of it, right? It's something that's done in consultation. It's treated like a medication. So it's not something you should just kind of toss around and do. And I know people who have done, and will put it in their water and that kind of thing. But I know people that have had issues with, stomach issues after doing it because they're, taking the wrong concentration, that kind of thing. So it is something you have to be careful about. So the most common is inhalation or topical through the skin. All essential oils work their way into the bloodstream. So that's how it travels through your body and does what it needs to do and gets to the various areas that it needs to get to, and works with those living tissues and that it needs to help. So you're going to go basically through the skin into the bloodstream, through the body, and it comes out through the liver and the kidneys. So you have to be careful in terms of the amount, because it's all going to get processed by your livers and your kidney. So they do a lot of work. Yeah. in general.
Yeah.
So
anyway, never mind the essential oils. They're already, detoxing and
exactly.
expelling,
everything else
in the body. Yeah. So
you don't want to overload it with something. No. And essential oils can be pretty potent. They can, and a little goes a long way. So you don't need a lot. So generally an essential oil will stay in the body for up to about 7 hours, depending on how long it takes to get through your system. Okay. And then it comes out, as I said, usually through the kidney and livers. It can also come out through sweat and that kind of thing too. There are people that say that essential oils are better absorbed through hair follicles or through sweat glands. Generally, that's not true. Simply because both of those mechanisms are mechanisms that are coming out of your body.
Okay, yeah.
And not into your body, right? So if you think about it, it's logical. It's the essential oil isn't going to go in through a sweat gland because it's pushing out. And it also doesn't mix with water. So it's not mixing with the sweat to go in. It's just going to get pushed out. So one thing that, again, most people are like, I'll just do this. It'll go in through your skin regardless. And it's the level that you use is also depends on what you're treating and how you're treating. And that again is something that you discuss with an aromatherapist, and how they, what treatment you're going to use. Most of the stuff that you buy with essential oils, like combinations that are already mixed, lotions, that kind of stuff, even the stuff that I sell as just generic body care products, they're kind of at usually like a 1% dilution. So very, very low dilution of essential oil to the actual carrier oils and everything else that it's mixed in. When you're doing a treatment for kids, young kids, you're usually looking at a 1% level. But for adults, you can go anywhere from 3 to about 7 or 9, again, depending on what you're treating and how you're doing it. And again, you wouldn't do it all the time, right? So it would be for a specific reason. So, but usually about 3% is kind of normal. So a little higher in terms of the actual treatment side of things, as opposed to just the generic, using of anything. So, yeah. When you're actually taking essential oils, if you're doing the oral ingestion, like ingesting it, about 95% of that essential oil will go into your system, because you're going directly into your stomach and into your bloodstream and into, very quickly, right? When you're doing inhalation, about 70% of the essential oil gets into your system. This is a little more direct, but still you're losing some of it along the way. Mm-hmm. And with topical, only about 10% gets actually into your system.
Okay.
Still effective in a lot of treatments, but it's just so you have an idea of kind of the level that you're getting into your system.
Yeah.
I bring it up mostly because inhalation in particular, a lot of people use diffusers, especially nowadays.
Yes.
And so you're doing a lot of inhaling. So you're getting a lot of essential oils into your system. If you have a diffuser that's on a lot or fairly constant, it's a lot of essential oil that is going into your body. So you really should kind of be careful about that, and maybe not use it all the time, or use it for specific reasons, or if you're just trying to freshen up a room, put it on for an hour, turn it off, that kind of idea. So yeah, in terms of processing it, as I said, it goes through our kidneys and livers, and that's why there's a difference in terms of what you use depending on ages and size, because depending on if you're working with a small child, you're not going to use as much as if you're working with a full-grown adult. Their systems are still developing, they're doing all of that kind of stuff.
Well, like medication,
so
right?
they're not,
you'd adjust
there
as well.
Exactly. You adjust the dosage level, because of that, right? So that you're not giving them as big of a dose as you would a full-grown adult.
Right.
And that is similar with animals, which again, you think about it, makes sense, right?
Yeah.
They're smaller, so you're not using the same level of dose that you would in an animal as you would in a human.
And also, this is why you have to keep in mind, if you have animals in your home and you're using diffusers, I would assume you have to keep them in mind too.
That's exactly why. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially because, yes, they're breathing it in just like you, and they're gonna, so they're gonna process it just like you. They're smaller, so it's gonna, be harder on their system to process. And it also, with the diffusers, going into the air, but it will fall to the ground or to the surfaces. Right. And most of your animals, we don't necessarily lick the floor. You never know. But we don't necessarily lick the floor. But the occasional animal will,
oh yeah,
floor, or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, or they're sitting on the couch and they're getting it on their fur and they're licking their fur, that kind of thing. So they're tending to get more of it in their system than you are as a human.
Yeah.
So yes, so definitely, if you're looking at using a diffuser and you've got an animal in the house, you want to make sure it's in a well ventilated space, or a space that they're not in as much, or again, you're not using it all the time,
right?
Which is good for you, but also good for them,
right?
Because that's in particular, as I said, they process it the same way we do, through their bloodstream bloodstream through their kidney and liver. But in particular, cats, they don't have the same enzymes that we do. They're missing an enzyme that we have. So it makes it, they can still process essential oils. It takes longer. It takes longer for it to break down in their system because they're missing that enzyme.
So you
to
extra
help break it down.
Then, because then it'll take forever.
Right.
It'll be harder on them.
It's just, yeah, exactly. Right. So you just want to be careful not to, with cats in particular, that you're just taking it easy.
Right.
Yeah. So as I said, the mixing level is one of the key things with safety. If you're mixing your own product, essential oils should always be used with a carrier of some sort. You should very rarely use them neat on your skin. There are some that people will, and there are some that aromatherapists will. But again, it's not something that is recommended for just kind of everyday use kind of idea. It should be mixed in a carrier, so an alcohol or a lotion base or an oil, like a avocado oil or a sweet almond oil or that apricot oil, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Something that it can be blended with, and keeping it at that. As I said, if it's just a generic cosmetic thing, keeping it at that kind of 1% or less level for topical application. You will still get the benefits of it, just not that way. If you're using it all the time, you're not getting your system overloaded with it. Right. So yeah, at that level. So, and then if you're looking at stronger doses, I definitely recommend talking to somebody that has the training so that they can, develop a plan and a blend and something that, you can work with to treat specific ailments.
And for animals, I assume somebody who's trained with essential oils and aromatherapy.
Exactly. Yeah. I treat humans. I could treat animals. I would probably take a little longer before prescribing, or not prescribing, but before developing a plan for an animal, simply because I would want to look up a few more things and just double check a couple of things, just because it's not something I do frequently.
Right.
So I don't have that kind of like constant use of doing it. I have done some training in it, just not something I use frequently. So I wouldn't just kind of say, use this, use that. I would take a little bit more time. And put it all together.
Be strategic.
And and prolonged continuous use is also something to keep in mind. You don't want to be using something constantly for a long period of time, right? You want to switch it up. So, which is good for your skin anyways. Even if you're using a body care product, you want to switch it up every once in a while. Give your skin a break and try something different, and that kind of idea. So yeah, it's always good to kind of switch it up, take a break, use a different essential oil combo, use something. And if you're treating a specific ailment, usually you're treating it for a specific period of time with the hopes that you're, going to help fix that issue and stop it after a certain periods.
Right. So thank you so much, Heather, for chatting with me about this today.
Oh, thank you.